Wow, folks. Just wow. That's all I have to say. First response, it's just what I'm feeling after watching the memorial yesterday. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings and welcome to the program, the What's Right Show, brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. So, the big question is this. To what extent has the paradigm shifted? Because I think today, as I unpackage everything that happened yesterday, and in fact over the last week and a half, I think we're in a completely different place as a country, even not just as a conservative movement, than we were, let's say, a month ago. I can't overstate the importance of what we heard yesterday. Now, if you missed it, it's okay. I'll take you through it, and I got all the best highlights, and we'll chew through those here this hour. But I just first want to get into this, that there is no question that even the most secular among us, watching the speakers, listening to the speakers, watching the show, the memorial service for Charlie Kirk yesterday, and it was a show. I mean, Turning Point USA did an unbelievable job. They threw this thing together in 5, maybe 6 days, and you could not tell. This was on par. The fit and finish of this production was on par with an event that might take, let's say, 6 to 9 months to properly plan. I thought it was breathtaking, and I thought it was an incredible tribute to Charlie Kirk, who was meticulous in planning these events. I know there were criticisms, for example, of the sparklers used when guests walked on stage, people calling it a spectacle. Charlie's friends rightly reacting, reminding people that this is the way Charlie loved to. These are the kind of flourishes that Charlie loved to put in his events at TPUSA events, and so this is something he would have absolutely liked. But regardless, it was the substance of everything that took me. Even the most secular person sitting there in the room had a stirring of spirituality by the time the 4.5, 5 hours were over. No one, and I mean no one, was left with dry eyes. And it, listen, I've said this before. The fight to save this country is not merely political. It's deeply cultural. The fight to reclaim Americanism is not something that is just going to be fought and won in Washington, in our state capitals, in our city halls. It's going to be fought and won in the home. And the recurring theme of the memorial yesterday was just how much Charlie Kirk cared for and sought to uplift young men in America, encouraging them to be self-reliant, encouraging them to be morally upright, honest, clean living, urging them to not put off marriage and fatherhood. Basically, the literal opposite of what the left constantly tells us. You have some fun there. You go enjoy. You're not ready to make a big commitment. And what happens is, and this is a fact, and you know this because you see it, people put off marriage far too long. And then get to a point in their lives where they're just comfortable being single. And the idea of adapting to either married life or to a family life becomes unimaginable. And then, of course, we've got plummeting birth rates across the Western world, which is a function of this, a result. There's no question about it. It becomes an existential problem. But it all started with the false premise that we should just go and enjoy ourselves and live for us, for you, for me. And this was this, and I'll be honest, it's a lot of this part of Charlie Kirk's messaging as I wasn't that aware of. And hearing it repeated, and I'll tell you, they've all got a point. So that's one component of this. Now, I think somebody today reached out to me about here in Nevada. Of course, the What's Right show is based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. So occasionally people at the national level reach out to me for my opinions on what's going on here in the Silver State. And I was asked specifically about this upcoming gubernatorial election, which, Lombardo is running for re-election here in our state. He's being challenged by at least one Democrat at this point, which is Aaron Ford. Aaron Ford is how he pronounces it, our Attorney General. And Ford is making the case for this being an election about abortion. And they asked for my comment. And I said, what? Huh? What regressive yesterday's platform? What are the Democrats even thinking? This is, okay, it's so 2024. And as I started laying it out in my head, I realized quickly that you will see, I make this promise here, you're not going to see it today, but you certainly are going to see it within a year. Attitudes across the country, even among independents, people in the political center, will change on questions regarding culture, morality, and even abortion. They will move more to the quote-unquote right than they've ever been before. And it will be traced, the thinking shift will trace back to the events of the last couple weeks. It's going to be unbelievable. And it's gone straight over the Democrats' head. Number one, because Aaron Ford and every other Democrat genius in politics or in political strategy didn't watch any of it. It went over their heads. They also are highly contemptuous, generally speaking, of religion and of faith. They minimize, denigrate people who have faith, who are religious. One of the greatest secularists alive today, Mr. Science, Technology himself, Elon Musk, attended the event. Musk posted a series of tweets, and Robbie, I think you probably would agree with me. His tweets were, at least reading them, I thought were, first stages of spiritual conversion. I mean, that's what's my point. My point is that a guy that understands the molecules, of space, and is certainly not a religious guy, was stirred to his soul in a religious way at Charlie Kirk's memorial. There will be ripple waves that come from this. And so I submit to you that the map, the political game, the strategy, the ideology, the culture, everything is in flux. It all changed virtually overnight. And I think it's important. One, you are going to know after this week listening to this program, you will know more about this than most political strategists who are paid professionals to understand the rules of the game. And the number one reason why they will never get it is because it is so threatening to everything that they know and everything that they believe and every foundational, very being of their existence that they will, it's in our human nature, will resist acknowledging this new emerging truth. And the truth is, there's going to be a cultural, perhaps even a spiritual, if not outright religious, shift to the right, toward faith, toward Christianity, toward Judaism, perhaps, but Judeo-Christian Western values. So let's get into it and go through some of the highlights. And by the way, I mean, that moment when Erica Kirk forgave the shooter, I want to talk about this. This moment, I mean, you could feel it, whether you were in the room, on the watching it on TV at home, anywhere. It was absolutely so powerful. And then, of course, immediately the critics began taking this apart. So that's one thing I particularly want to get some attention on as we move through this. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, be back in a moment.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Robbie, keep an eye on the live screen here for Trump making his major health announcement. Folks, I think this is relating to the autism diagnoses and potential causes. So anyway, that presser has not yet happened. So we'll bring you updates on that as the show progresses. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, behind the What's Right microphone. Great to be here with you folks, as always. So the big question after yesterday's memorial, incredibly touching, moving, emotionally just riveting memorial for Charlie Kirk is, I keep thinking, do the normies, sort of the middle of the road people, not the crazy leftists, but maybe Democrats, but they're not super hardcore, are they touched by any of this? And I think there's a possibility that they are, in spite of the sense of denial I think some are in as to the importance of what happened a week and a half ago at UVU when Charlie was slain. I think there's going to be a stirring if it hasn't started already. Now here's the theme. The theme, of course, at a high level, was saving the country. It's very clear that this is something Charlie Kirk would have wanted. And saving the country begins with saving people. This is a big thing, right? Democrats, the left, always focus on the collective, doing things for the good of society, for everybody, for the workers of the world unite. But conservatism is focused on the individual, helping the individual be the best that they can be, and then getting out of their way and allowing them to succeed. That is the reason, for example, I have always been a conservative. This is fundamentally the right thing for me. It fits. And one of the things that Charlie Kirk specifically wanted to do, and this was one of the first things Erica Kirk got to, was saving young men. She at one point gets into a conversation about what men should be, and she spoke to men. She spoke to fathers. She told them how they should be in the home, what kind of parents they should be, what kind of husbands they should be to their wives. And then she went on to say that Charlie specifically wanted to save young men and put them on the right course, and even to save young men like the one that took his life. This is where the beginning of the most powerful moment started.
Charlie passionately wanted to reach and save the lost boys of the West. The young men who feel like they have no direction, no purpose, no faith, and no reason to live. The men wasting their lives on distractions, and the men consumed with resentment, anger, and hate. Charlie wanted to help them. He wanted them to have a home with Turning Point USA. And when he went onto campus, he was looking to show them a better path and a better life that was right there for the taking. He wanted to show them that. My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life.
That's it. Now, by the way, notice, right, the young men of the West. The young men of the West, isn't it, just think back to the last 10 years or so, the onslaught of condemnation that has come from the left toward young men, toxic masculinity, and particularly white men, to the point where if you're an average kid, trying to just do good in the world and make a good life for yourself, and you go to college and you sit there in these classrooms, and day in and day out, professors, it doesn't matter the subject, berate you for being you and tell you you have to be something different than what you want to be, foreordained by hundreds, if not thousands upon thousands of years of evolutionary biology. In a very short period of time, the leftists, the progressives, upended the very order that has been in place since the beginning of time. This is what revolutionaries do. So it was a very important cultural and political point, and on it, then Erica Kirk built this, which was one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful moment of yesterday's memorial.
That young man, on the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
She looks up at the sky. She's obviously in tears.
I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
This was a moment. Now, by the way, I'm watching the crowd, and there are people in the audience who are shaking their heads. They're shaking their heads back and forth like, no, we're not forgiving this guy. And one of the things I want to do when we come back, let's listen, because Trump went after Erica. So it was Erica Kirk that went second to last, and then Trump concluded the event. And then at the very end of Trump's remarks, beautiful moment where Erica Kirk walks back up. He asks her to come back on the stage and embraces her warmly, and just a very touching, powerful moment there. But Trump got to this question of forgiveness and has been lampooned for it, criticized for it. And I'm going to explain exactly to you why these criticisms aren't landing. Okay, so just hang tight. We got to get to everything here, and these commercial breaks keep interrupting our flow. That's okay. We got this. We've got it handled. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, making radio great again. Happy Monday, folks. Good to be here. So let's, by the way, this news about Jimmy Kimmel, let me explain to you what happened. Disney has come out and said that he was suspended following his insensitive comments in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So even people like Piers Morgan are coming out. Piers is kind of a squishy middle guy, saying, looks like he wasn't canceled. It wasn't the FCC. He just was temporarily suspended by his employer because they were mad at him. So, look, as always, I was on the right path with you guys when I told you that this was not what they were making it out to be. And that, of course, the media was desperate to help the left, the Democrats, get a win out of this and turn Kimmel, a multi-millionaire TV star of, suspect IQ levels, some kind of a martyr. All in the wake of Charlie Kirk actually getting assassinated and being murdered because someone didn't agree with him. So there it is. All right. Hope we never have to talk about Kimmel again. Trump, following Erica Kirk yesterday, had this moment in his speech that everybody is talking about now. And it's, well, let me play for you. This is the moment where he basically says he's not the forgiving kind. Erica Kirk said that she forgives the man that shot her husband. And Trump had a different take.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent. Charlie's angry. Looking down, he's angry at me now.
Now, the responses to this were like, the Trump is just this guy. He makes everything about himself. He is hateful and spiteful, and he can't pick up on the mood of the event. Doesn't he know who he is? Doesn't Trump know where he is? All of these types of responses. Now, I actually have a completely different theory because remember, Trump is, if anybody, has a perfect sense of political mood and of opportunity to make a political point. He is absolutely, he's got his political instincts for a guy that is a relative newcomer, late stage in life to politics. Unbelievable. It is Erica Kirk's place to forgive. It's the place of government to mete out justice, and to protect the world from people like Tyler Robinson. Now, the reason everybody loved this in the room is because, remember, I told you I saw people there in the crowd who began shaking their heads side to side. And when Erica Kirk said what she said, there's not one person in that room who did not have a heart ripped open by listening to her speak. And yet people were shaking their heads no when she said that she would forgive the shooter. Trump picks up on this. And the left and the media and all these people piling on with their inane nonsense confused two critical categories. Private forgiveness, the type that Erica Kirk gives, doesn't annul private or public justice, excuse me. Public justice is not the arena, the forum for Christian mercy. A private citizen who is a Christian, who is a believer, can forgive so that the offender, here the murderer, is no longer a private enemy to that individual. But Trump is the representative of the state. When Trump gets up to speak, it's his seal that goes on the podium. The President of the United States, he is not speaking as a Christian or a private individual. He's speaking as the president. And everybody in that room, I'm telling you, everybody in that room wanted to hear him say, yeah, I don't think I'm that forgiving. And at the same time, pass it in a way that put himself as the negative example and uplifted Charlie and Erica Kirk. He used himself as a negative example. He goes, well, I'm a far, basically, I'm an inferior person, obviously, to Charlie and Erica, and maybe they can convince me otherwise, but I want this guy to burn. That is what he was saying. He literally is saying that he considers Charlie to be a better man than himself. It was, I don't know, it was immediately evident to me and everybody in the room. I mean, I don't know what we're missing here. So that was the moment. Now, all right, well, of course, Tucker Carlson, people are saying he stepped in. Should I just let me play the Tucker Carlson clip. This is the one that everybody is saying has a dog whistle to anti-Semitism. Now, I have my differences with Tucker. Let me play the clip first.
Ultimately, he was a Christian evangelist. And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. It doesn't work that way.
Well, hummus eaters. Robbie, we haven't spoken about this. I'm just curious, yay or nay, right? Did you perceive this to be a anti-Semitic slur? No. Okay, neither did I. And I am, listen, guy, I might be the last conservative out there who is under the age of 60 to be an ardent supporter of Israel. So just hear me out. And also a critic of Tucker Carlson. I just didn't hear it that way. It wasn't until later that I'm perusing the interwebs and following up and, channel surfing through various commentary where people began popping up with this idea that the hummus eaters, the hummus eaters were the Jews. I'm just not going to go there, folks. I'm not. I will call out Tucker Carlson when I think he's gone too far, and I do it here all the time. I do it plenty. What you have to understand is that Tucker was very close friends with Charlie Kirk and knew him from the time he was 18 years old and was a mentor to him. For whatever fault you have with Tucker, I know we have our disagreements, he and I. In the wake of Charlie's killing, Tucker Carlson gave $1 million of his own money to Erica and the kids. I am not worthy to pick apart his words at his friend's funeral. Just not going to do it. So that's all I have to say. I hope that's not disappointing to any of you, but I just I can't go there. And interestingly enough, I mean, there's a few other people and entities involved in the death of Jesus, and depending on which account you go by, I mean, just the whole thing. And I understand Cernovich and Tucker have their views right now, are very outspoken in their case for the U.S. separating from Israel. And I don't like it. I think it's a fool's errand. I think that there's a danger in the world, and it's Islam. It's a threat to the West. And in that existential fight, Israel is our friend, our ally, because the enemy of our enemy is our friend at the very least. That doesn't mean that I don't have criticism. Again, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. That's just not going to do it. And that people were piling on during the event and immediately after the event. I mean, yesterday to me was not the appropriate time and place. But of course, try explaining that to some of these so-called conservative influencers. So anyway, Sam Mirejovsky here, News Talk 840 KXNT. More on this. Boy, let's get to Stephen Miller. Oh my God, just buckle up. I'm going to give you what I think was the best political line of the event. Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, that's me, Sam Mirejovsky, behind the What's Right microphone. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. Quick note here, this program, I always say this, is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. Now, I'm the Sam of Sam and Ash Injury Law, so I can speak on this with some degree of authority. Here's an interesting statistic. Do you know that about 74% of people who've gotten injured, had a personal injury occur to them, do not talk to a lawyer? I wonder about this, actually. Robbie, it's an interesting thing. That is an honest to goodness statistic. And I assume, and people I know, by the way, who have had something happen and say, no, Sam, I'm okay. I'm not going to do anything. One of the things that I have, I've realized is that a lot of people just don't think that they're going to turn it over to their own insurance company. They're just going to let it handle it with their own insurance. Your insurance company, really honest to goodness, does not care about you in the least. Their objective is to save money, to pay for their DEI programs, to do all the woke stuff that they do. Trust me, they all do this. All right? And then when it comes time to paying out claims, they are the worst. Don't have that happen to you. Get some legal advice. You're careful in everything that you do. You're careful with your money. You budget. You have insurance. You do everything right. And then when it comes time to an injury, you don't find out what your rights are. It's crazy. So call us, and you can talk to me and Ashley. We're available. We're here. This is what we do. And we're happy to talk to you directly. 702-820-1234. If an accident happened in California and Nevada, we got you. Offices in both states, lawyers in both states. This is what we do. So I just always say this. Put the word out there that if you need some legal advice, you've had something happen, it could be the most catastrophic injury case, or even something that's just a nagging pain and you're worried that it could turn into something bigger. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Now, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, oh my goodness, what a speech. Now, the warm-up act to this was Posobiec. Jack Posobiec. Posobiec was on fire. Paso is what his nickname is. He's a conservative commentator, great guy. He's on Real America's Voice. He's got a show on there. Human Events, I think is what it's called. Is excellent. And he was a very close friend of Charlie Kirk. And here's what Paso said.
And the question of our time: will Western civilization endure? Or will it fracture in two, like so many predict? Well, I say to you that a century from now, when they write of the 2 or 3 pivotal moments that led to the saving of Western civilization, they will write that the sacrifice of Charles James Kirk was the turning point.
I think this is true. I think this is the moment. This is the moment, right? And I've mentioned this, and so Paso sets the stage. Now, Miller then, in his remarks, Stephen Miller, advisor to the president, deputy chief of staff, he's the guy overseeing the immigration policy. He's one of people that are very close to Trump and have been since Trump's first term in office. A loyalist, someone who's stuck by Trump through thick and thin during the darkest days of 2020, 2021. And then, of course, throughout the interregnum periods, as I like to call them, in between Trump's 2 presidencies, when Trump was hounded by Jack Smith and others. So Miller here gets into this is probably one of the most powerful moments.
To those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic.
You know, right in this part, I turned to my kids. We're all watching this as a family together. I turned to my kids. I said, this is exactly what I've been telling you my entire life. Well, your entire lives. So this is exactly it. What do I tell? Every time I talk about communism, socialism, leftism, Democrats, these people don't build anything. They just attach themselves to the healthy organisms of society, be it economic, cultural, institutional, and then suck the living blood out of them. By the way, side note here, you know, whenever I take my kids to Europe, to my parents' native homeland, and we're in the Czech Republic and we're driving through the countryside, I always give them a tour of, you know, of what was, of my family's factories and things that were taken from us by the communists. And these things that were taken and were confiscated, were destroyed, were ruined. They're just, in some cases, are ruins, literally ruins, like tumbled down ruins with weeds growing through them. They're never coming back. Because that's what the communists do. That's what the socialists do. That's what the left does. And I'm listening to this coming from Stephen Miller, who I know is of tremendous influence inside the Trump administration. I'm going, this is an answer to my prayers. I have longed to hear Republicans talk in these terms my entire life. So what does the left do? This is where it gets funny. The left starts to say that this is Goebbels' speech, right? You know, this is like a Hitler-esque speech. And somebody did a side-by-side comparison of this. And the "you are nothing" paragraph, here's what they think it sounds like. This is "The Storm is Coming" by Joseph Goebbels. They promised you workers, citizens, and creative Germans a Reich of freedom, beauty, and dignity. What? They're saying you plagiarized this. These people are demented. They see Hitlers and Nazis behind every Republican Bush. All right, Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Back in a moment. We'll get to some liberal reactions. You do not want to miss these. Trust me. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Radio Network. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Sam at whatsrightshow.com. That's my email, at whatsrightsam on X, formerly known as Twitter. So the various members of the media and other sundry leftists had some interesting reactions to yesterday's memorial. And they were really all over the map. I'm not going to play them all here, but all right. Well, here, by the way, Don Lemon actually might be over the target. Matt Walsh basically responded to this saying, yeah, correct. Here's what Lemon said about the memorial service yesterday for Charlie Kirk.
What happened in Arizona this weekend was not just a memorial. It was something else entirely. People will tell you that it is about grief. It was about grief, about honoring a man's life, about faith. And on the surface, maybe it looked like that. Tens of thousands gathered. The music swelled. I'm sure some of you saw it. I just saw some of the sound bites. There were prayers and tears and moments of silence. But if you stayed long enough for the little bit that I could stay, and then I said, you know what, I'm out. If you listen long enough and close enough, if you stayed long enough and you listen close enough, you could feel the ground shifting beneath you, because that wasn't just about a man who died. This was about a movement claiming divine permission to rule.
A man claiming divine permission to rule. Now, I got to say, there was, end of last week, a beautiful piece by Victor Davis Hanson talking about how the murder of Charlie Kirk was not a George Floyd moment. This was in response to some other silly things being said to the effect of that Charlie Kirk is the conservatives' version of George Floyd. Now, I'm not going to, obviously, it's we're not comparing. It is absurd for anybody to compare a felon with a long rap sheet who led, basically, I'm talking about Floyd, who led a really degenerate life, to someone as virtuous, upstanding, selfless, and committed and honest as Charlie Kirk. But we're talking about in terms of the movement principles here. There were a few speakers yesterday, and I'll get back to Don Lemon because it's important. I got to set this up. There were no mass riots after Charlie's killing. Remember, George Floyd's death was used by the left to justify 5 months of rioting, arson, murder, looting, and attacking police officers. $2 billion of property damage was caused. A federal courthouse, a police precinct, iconic churches, 35 deaths, 1,500 law enforcement officers were injured. What did we see in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder? We saw something quite different. No prominent Republican or conservative was encouraging any violence, let alone ongoing violence. What we always saw was thousands of people gathering peacefully in various locations at candlelight vigils, at Turning Point USA headquarters in Arizona. And actually, funny enough, we also saw people from the left defacing memorials to Charlie Kirk, right? We actually saw the kind of destructive violence done in the name of George Floyd, done supposedly as a counter protest to the peaceful gatherings and commemorations of Charlie Kirk. Where is this peace coming from? Where is this civilized way of mourning and of fighting back coming from? You know, I say this as a secular guy. You have to give faith, spirituality, Christianity, even Judaism, I believe as well, credit for the social cohesion that makes conservatives behave completely different than the liberal lunatics out there. Because what do they actually have that brings them together? What unity do they have? Robbie, you found this lady, this, by the way, is getting a ton of views online, who actually brings up this very point. She acknowledges that it's Republicans, it's Christian Republicans that get their unity from religion, and then asks, well, where does the left get their unity from? And well, here, let me play it.
I have a question for you. What unites the left wing? What makes the left wing come together in community? Because with the right wing, it's obviously Christianity and their collective commitment and love for Jesus, and also nationalism. They are nationalists. America, flag, nationalism. Where for me personally, when I think of national, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. So we don't have a unifying glue in the left wing that binds us together. What is it? What brings us together? What do you think?
I know. Hate, envy, base emotion, fear. What I saw yesterday, and by the way, how many people were on stream, Robbie? How many millions of people were watching this? Forget the 70,000 people that were in stadium, filled to the rafters. I love that. Steve Gruber, Real America's Voice, talking about how the place was filled to the rafters. Absolutely true. Then there was the overflow arena, the hockey arena. I think they had another 30,000 people there, 27,000, whatever the number was. There were hotels that opened their ballrooms to people who couldn't get into either venue, so they'd be out of the heat. Those are the people that traveled, that went. And then there were people online watching TV, cable, etc. And again, people had tears, people were moved, people felt the spirit. It was a revival. The New York Post is reporting that 200,000 people were turned away because of capacity reasons in Glendale yesterday, in Arizona. Did they riot? Did they leave trash? By the way, some people online are showing a trash-filled area. Look at what these MAGA Republicans are doing. And that was where the counter-protesters were. They left a mess. So when this person asks, where do the Democrats get their unity? They go to the polls. They go to every election, right? And they say they did it in 24, they did it in 20, they did it, in 2016. They said, if you elect Donald J. Trump, you're voting literally for Hitler. And by the way, they said the same thing about Romney. They said the same thing about Bush. They said the same thing about George H.W. Bush, who basically might as well have been a Democrat. Fear. They're going to take away your body choice. They're going to take away your bodily autonomy. But never mind, we're going to round everybody up and make sure they take the vaccine, or else you don't get to go anywhere in public. You don't get to go to work. You don't get to exist in polite society. But never mind, we are the bodily autonomy party. And if you vote for the Republicans, you, madam, will never have a say over what you do with your body ever again. Oh, and by the way, that guy's rich. Screw him. Aren't you jealous of him? Can you believe can you believe the systemic racism and injustice and inequality that has put you in an inferior position to that guy over there, who, by the way, incidentally, has worked his butt off while you've sat around feeling sorry for yourself? I know what the left is. I understand them like the back of my hand. So it's interesting to me. Never has there been a starker contrast on display between the right and the left as there was this past weekend. Now, I'll get more into this. I have more reactions here from some media people. We're going to peel away some of the layers of the onion here. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT.
The Salmon Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
All right, Trump's announcement was about Tylenol. This, I think, was roundly expected to happen. The manufacturers of Tylenol and related products are saying vehemently that absolutely not. Not the case of autism. So Trump recommending that pregnant women not take Tylenol. So also that spacing out the getting all the vaccines, spacing them out, not doing them all at once at the beginning of a child's life. This is, by the way, what we did. My wife has been reading RFK Jr. For years, okay? And she's always been slightly a vaccine skeptic. So what we did with each of our kids, we basically, dug our heels in and waited as long as possible. And we asked that the injections be given, spaced out a little bit further apart. Because what they love to do is just bring the baby in there and start just popping one after another. And it's crazy. This is where having healthy common sense helps, right? It goes a long way. I'm very grateful I'm very grateful that Sherry had that foresight. At any rate, so the left, wondering what they've got. All right. I played that. I love the clip of that woman going, well, they got the Christian nationalists. And they're up in arms that the Republican Party is rebranding into Christian nationalism right before their very eyes. Here's the problem with it for the left. It's going to be sticky. I said it. After decades of the left denigrating America, denigrating the family, denigrating young men, putting down success, eliminating meritocracy, going full nihilist, there is no truth, there is no values, there is no absolute, order in society. It's all meaningless. Don't you think that people are hungering for something? It's not just about bread on the table. I get philosophical here, but I know a lot of people who have a lot of money who are deeply unhappy. Okay? Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. What does that mean? It means that the comforts of life are not everything. I know people who have been fixated for much of their early adulthood into making money, building a career, having financial stability, and have told themselves, I will start a family once I have all my ducks in a row. I'll do that. I'm not going to start until I own a home and I have, I've got a, whatever it is, $10,000 saved in the bank. We're not going to have a baby. Babies are expensive. I'm not going to get married, not going to have kids. And then there's always an excuse to not do it. Again, there's something important I have to say here, and it's something that came out yesterday. That is, from my personal observation and all the various people that I know, the people that have kids are happier. The people that have a loving marriage, relationship with the wife, with the husband, and have kids. Is it easy? Absolutely not. I'm the first person to admit this. This is the most difficult thing I've ever done. No credit to me that Sherry has put up with me for 20 years. But the joy that I have from it today overshadows anything else I have achieved in life. It's not even close. And I'm so fortunate that I had really good guidance, and I had good values, and I had the foresight to recognize that I wanted to have kids early so that they would get to know my parents, so that my parents could have a relationship with my kids and vice versa. I didn't want to be, I lost my paternal grandfather when I was, I think, 4 or 5. So I didn't want that to be, the case for my son, my daughters. So I did it. And here is the thing. The political movement that gives people meaning and true happiness will win and win and win and win again. And that's what I saw there yesterday. This is what I felt. It wasn't just, listening to the words and it all made perfect sense. It was the feeling. And we say sometimes, I say this a lot, right? Democrats are the party of the feeling, and we've always been the cerebral party where we lay out the facts and the reason behind what we believe and why we believe it. And all of a sudden, the Republicans have found a way via Charlie Kirk, of all things, found a way to bring some feeling, some emotion, some purpose to people. And particularly the people among us that have been most beaten down by the regime. There's a reason why communists went after churches. There is a reason why the Bolsheviks arrested priests and pastors. You got to think about that. And maybe you're not a religious person, and maybe you're going, I don't know, I don't want to be a Christian nationalist. It's not really what it is. You're a patriot with values. That's not a dirty word. And the reason that the left is so furious over this, and they're steaming, and they don't know how to properly, they don't know how many pejoratives to throw out just to completely bury this. Because they know that this is a threat. Defined values, an absolute truth, that is a threat. People that don't need the government and can rely on a higher power and on themselves, that is a threat to the regime, to what the Democrats have been trying to build in this country. Patriotism, love of country. It's sad to me. It is actually sad to me that you will see people on the left say, drove by that house and they had an American flag up. No, they're Republicans. That's sad. When did our American flag start being an unacceptable political symbol? Because if you ask a lib, they tell you, well, Donald Trump, he hugged the flag and it's a Christian nationalism. How absurd is that? The reason it started being an unacceptable political symbol to the left, the American flag, I mean, is because they decided that being patriotic, loving your country, puts you at odds, basically, with the Democratic Party platform. Sam Mirejovsky, back in a moment. Making radio great again, Sam Mirejovsky here. The What's Right show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. Don't be one of the 74% of people that do nothing after they get hurt. 74% don't call a lawyer. They don't even know what their rights are, and they get trounced by the woke insurance companies who just walk all over them. It's a nasty reality. Fight for yourself. Stand up for yourself. It's okay to get legal advice. You certainly don't want to go to a woke law firm, so pick Sam and Ash Injury Law, a firm that aligns with your values. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. I'll tell you what isn't right. Saw yesterday that Australia, France, and the UK all recognize the state of Palestine. Yes, these three countries have joined many others in giving Hamas exactly what they wanted. It is a complete and utter joke. I'm embarrassed for Western civilization. Now, I guess one of the plans, France, Emmanuel Macron, the president there with his aging ex-teacher wife, who has, I guess, today shown some pictures in her case to prove that she is a woman. I think she should have just had Matt Walsh come over and do an inspection. But anyway, she decided to do this, of course, the Candace Owens lawsuit, so whatever. Anyway, Macron's plan for Palestine is to boot the IDF from Gaza and then go in with a multinational force to be the peacekeepers and to disarm Hamas and end the conflict. That's what we're going to do. We're going to end the conflict. We're going to send in peacekeepers, then we're going to end the conflict. Do you know how badly that's going to go? First of all, hear me out. If the IDF can't end Hamas and get Hamas to disarm, how the hell are the French troops going to do this? Is this real? And I guess the leftists there in Europe, Keir Starmer, who today is in a big controversy going on today because they found, of all places, a guest pass to visit communist Czechoslovakia in the 60s. He was a guest of the communist government, the same government that persecuted my family, that murdered family members of mine. Unspeakable horrors. And Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister now, Mr. Censorship, Mr. Left, Mr. Globalist, was there as a young man visiting the glories of socialism so he could come home and extol its virtues. This is the same idiot that got taken by the communists. They're murdering people over here and then showing a little Potemkin village, meaning a little fake set of, oh, this is the socialist paradise. Looky here, Keir, we're going to show you how great it is. The left is, these are the people that are in charge. They are actually retarded. But anyway, and they're making momentous decisions. They are literally looking at Hamas going, you know, well, we hear you. We understand you've got some legitimate grievances. That October 7th thing and the 50 hostages you haven't returned yet, you know, we get you. We understand. We're going to work with you. I don't know. I get it. I'm as America first as they come. But guess what? Now, it's Israel ahead of Hamas, and Israel ahead of Syria, and Israel ahead of Hezbollah and Iran, and a whole lot of other countries and cultures. Okay, I'm just going to let me put that to rest. This is a dangerous game we're playing, and conservatives that are running cover for these globalist idiots that are pro-Palestine, you guys are going to regret the day that this all comes back on you. You don't know what kind of danger is coming. These people have bloodlust. And I think this is, let me just say this. What Macron and Starmer think that they're doing is buying themselves peace. Right? Peace. But wait. You've got British soldiers, French soldiers, maybe the Germans on the ground, peacekeeping troops. Well, please, Mr. Hamas, we're going to disarm you now. Keep hands up. Okay, hands up. And I give it 10 minutes before France, Germany, UK, whoever else is in there, the peacekeeping force, they become the new IDF. They become the new genocidal maniacs. And then you won't even be able to go to London or Paris or anywhere, because there will be a terror attack every week. The left is so flippin' stupid. I'm sorry, folks. I try to keep myself calm. So if this is enlightened secularism, I'm signing up for Christian nationalism all day long. Where do I go? Where do I sign up? I'm in. It's on like Donkey Kong. And the only thing I will say, the only asterisk I'll say, is everybody in our movement that has suddenly become loathing of Israel, be careful. These people are dangerous. I just saw somewhere, I think the one and only Mark Levin that follows this program, he's posting some stuff about Tucker Carlson. I'm not ready to say that Tucker's comments at the memorial service yesterday were a dog whistle of any kind. But I am with Mark Levin fundamentally on the subject of Israel and the need to band with allies in the world who stand on the right side of defending Western civilization. My gosh. Hey, Robbie, I'm all fired up about this. Okay. Let's get back to some other idiots here, shall we? Jasmine Crockett. The left has nothing. Let's go back to Charlie Kirk. Dana Bash sits down today with Jasmine Crockett and goes. Dana plays two clips where Jasmine Crockett says Trump is an enemy of the United States, and then says Republicans want to show that they are loyal to this wannabe Hitler. Basically plays back her comments to her, Dana Bash to Jasmine Crockett, and Crockett. So then gets asked, "Come on, do you really stand behind this? Do you really stand behind this?"
Do you have a responsibility as an elected official not to raise the temperature, but rather lower the temperature, particularly when there are people out there who listen to elected officials all over the place who are not well, who use that as a way to instigate the political violence that you are calling out?
I think that my responsibility is to be transparent and to be honest. And the reality is that we are living in a time in which this administration and this regime is not interested in making sure that people understand history. We need to understand why they are so problematic. And so I am using that language because it is accurate language. When we see the consolidation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it. Like, these are the facts.
Hitler, there it is again. Stephen Miller is Goebbels. Hitler is Hitler. Trump is Hitler. Everybody's Hitler. They're all Nazis. Doesn't it ever bother anybody, by the way? I mean, how many Americans died fighting Hitler in World War II? I think it was something like 180,000 plus minus. A few families that didn't have their son come home. These brave soldiers who gave their all in World War II are rolling in their graves with the ease with which the left brings out and talks about the name Hitler. You call everybody Hitler, nobody's Hitler. It used to mean something, damn it. By the way, here's another odious character, Ms. Ilhan Omar, with her former spouse, a.k.a. brother. All right, here's Caitlin Collins playing a video, asking Omar about a video that she posted about saying Charlie Kirk was dead, that their far-right propped his corpse up as a cudgel for their holy war, their Christo-fascist agenda, calling Kirk a reprehensible human being, a stochastic terrorist, a Dr. Frankenstein killed by a monster of his own making. This was all in a video that Ilhan Omar, U.S. representative from the great state of Somalia, posted on her social media. So Collins asks her about this, and here's how this went.
I just think it was the video where it called him Dr. Frankenstein and said his monster shot him through the neck. I mean, obviously this is a person, and looking at this is someone who was a husband and a father, and in the days after his shocking death, that happened as a result of his views, or it happened as a result as he was sharing his views publicly with people, that people found it jarring to hear such criticism of that in the immediate aftermath of
what
death.
I find jarring is that there's so many people willing to excuse the most reprehensible things that he said, that they agree with that they're willing to have monuments for him, that they want to create a day to honor him, and that they want to produce resolutions in the House of Congress honoring his life and legacy. It is one thing to care about his life, because obviously so many people loved him, including his children and wife. But I am not going to sit here and be judged for not wanting to honor any legacy this man has left behind. That should be in the dustbin of history, and we should hopefully move on and forget the hate that he spewed every single day.
Wow. In other words, I don't apologize for any of it. I don't know. We could pick. You want the United States of Somalia, or you want a little patriotism, some values, right and wrong, love of country, family. They've got Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett. We have the things I just mentioned. You pick. Sam Mirejovsky, back in a moment. Yes, here's the question. What does the left have? What is the religion of the left? If you've got Republicans now coming out of this immense tragedy, this violent murder, assassination of Charlie Kirk, coming out of, and they're saying, we're embracing Christianity, we're embracing morality, we're embracing God. What is the left embracing? I have something for you. It almost to the minute, as I am getting ready to watch the pre-show of the event. I turned on Real America's Voice. Okay, just that's what I wanted to watch. Of course, Charlie Kirk was on RAV. So it's really easy, by the way. You just download an app on Apple TV. I don't know if you've done this, but I would get the app. It's free. You can watch Real America's Voice. It is a great alternative. That and OAN, great alternative to Fox News. I'm just saying. Okay. So I go on there. A couple of things. First of all, my heart was soft yesterday, even before the event. And Steve Bannon was up there talking, and I have my antipathies for Steve. It's not a big fan of Steve Bannon, but he had it was so nice, his program. I'm ready to make up with Steve Bannon, I think. Okay. It'll take me a few more days, but I'm just letting you know I had that thought go through me. So sharing that with you. But anyway, before the event, somebody sends me this video. And it's just a news video, and it's actually done in the style of a standard sort of news documentary interview story. And this is back from 2019, so it is not current. And apparently it's from, this is a news report of sorts or a documentary. It's called My Trans Life with Sarah and Ben. And these are two parents, mother and father, I think, who they live in Berkeley. Okay, Berkeley, California, very liberal place. Now, I'm not going to set up anything more about it than what I just said, but I want you to think about everything you heard and saw and felt yesterday watching Charlie Kirk's memorial. And if that's, I guess worst case scenario, according to the left, if that defines the Republican Party moving forward. Question, what defines the Democrats? And I think actually, sadly, tragically for the Democratic Party, it's stuff like this.
The reaction when people hear that we have two trans kids is pretty shock and awe. Olivia said she was transgender from the age of 4 until 5. She didn't socially transition until she was 5 years old and entering kindergarten. When James was 8 years old, he asked to transition, which meant social transition. He just now, a month ago, started hormone blocker, and he is counting down the days until he can start testosterone, which would be the first time something permanent would be happening, because at that point, it would affect fertility. If you use a blocker and go on to testosterone, your eggs would never mature. Mm-hmm. And you've always said you wanted to be a parent.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about that if you can't have your own child?
Adopting, is a great idea to me.
What do you think? I'm just asking. You could be the biggest advocate for being compassionate and whatnot for, trans people. What is the likelihood? What's the statistical likelihood of both kids, 100%, 2 out of 2 kids in the same household actually being trans? Something within them that is, genetic, that just awoke. I mean, do we know? I used to do the math on these things. I didn't do it here in preparation for this, Robbie. Shame on me. There's a formula, because basically if the chance is like 1,001, and I think it's a little bit lower than that, then you multiply, you've got 2 of that occurring. So you multiply those by each other. And so you end up with the odds. I mean, you're more likely to win $1 billion jackpot in the lottery than you are to have 2 trans kids at home. Or alternatively, it's the parents that are just bat nuts crazy. It's the parents. And this is child abuse. It's rank child abuse. But I don't want to get into a big trans con. I'm talking now about what it is that unites the Democratic Party. What is it that fuels them? What is it? And I think it's stuff like this. And this is why I think that the left is going to enter a long winter, and I wrote this on X yesterday. At What's Right Sam, by the way, is where you can find me. I think they're headed for a long winter, because at the very moment that Republicans are getting a spine, are no longer afraid to say who they are, which is God-fearing, values-oriented, pro-family, pro-life, pro-America, mother, father, single, one parent working, one parent in the home, preferably the mother. These are the building blocks of a healthy society. What you're seeing here, is not good. This at scale is terrible. child knew they were trans at 4, began socially transitioning at 5. What? Who can defend this? This is heartbreaking. I really believe that in my lifetime, and actually maybe not that long in the future, we are going to come to, it will be recognized, universally accepted, that people that engaged in this, that were medically transitioning little kids, are monsters. They will be on. You want to bring up some Nazis? I'll bring up one. Dr. Mengele. That is what this is. This is just as odious as it gets. But this is what the left celebrates. And again, I think there's a certain perversion behind it. They want to destroy the nuclear family. They want, in their accelerationist nihilism, to bring down traditional society so they can rebuild their power base on the ruins. But we won't let them. And we won't let them because these last week and a half, this was a turning point. God bless Charlie Kirk and his everlasting memory.